One of the blessings of Ramadan is, without a doubt, the time we spend with our family and our children especially. Many people don't know that there were kids detained in Bagram and Guantanamo too.
أخي صبرا على ألم الفراق.
One of the few I met was a 15-year-old Canadian boy called Omar Khadr. When the US soldiers brought him in, he was in a horrific state. The soldiers who captured him had shot him point blank in the back with a shotgun. He also had shrapnel wounds all over his body, and the shrapnel had blinded him in one eye. His injuries looked like something out of a horror movie. I don't know how he survived these injuries, but he did. I first saw Omar in Bagram. Despite his injuries, soldiers would scream insults at him, and his hands and legs would be tied and a hood placed over his head. However, Omar was quiet and very patient. He never complained, ever. In fact, when he recited the Quran in his soft, gentle voice, he appeared even more serene. Eventually, we were moved to the same cell. We would spend our time having muted conversations. Talking would get you tortured. Like me, he was eventually transferred to Guantanamo, and that's where he grew up and became a man. When I was released, I felt compelled to let the world know about his case and started campaigning for him. I often spoke with his family and his lawyers. His case became a symbol of Guantanamo's injustice. More people started to demand his release. One man in particular stood out in the campaign, Omar's lawyer, Dennis Edney. For years, he spent his time and his own money to represent and defend Omar, until Omar was finally released after 13 years in prison. I first spoke to Omar after his release via video phone call alongside other former prisoners. We called him from outside the US Embassy in London on the 14th anniversary of Guantanamo. The Canadian government finally apologized to Omar Khadr and compensated him and recognized its own role in his abuse. The world could finally then see Omar for what he really was. And the smile that he gave did the rest. Through stories like Omar's, I have learned that most of the time, justice can only be served when people join together to demand it. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever removes a believer from hardship in his life, Allah will remove him from the hardships of the Day of Judgment."
أخي صبرا على ألم الفراق.